you been, my friend?
Great. Yeah, pretty good. You know what? Actually, I was thinking while you were playing this, I've got a question for you.
Oh wow. Okay, that's a different way to start the show, but let's do it.
But just as a drummer, how does that song, make you feel in terms of the drum arrangement?
It makes me feel extremely delighted. It's very, very hard to, especially if you got the bass drum there. It's very hard to mess that up.
Yeah, no, obviously it's basic, but I think this is something, there's something primal about that type of playing,
For sure. Yeah, like when you have those big, what is it? Is it like a pauk, or it's like a Japanese
surdo.
drum?
It's a Brazilian drum, surdo.
A
big floor tom.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, it's like percussion in general. When you add that to a song, it sort of really spices everything up. And obviously here, like, you've added quite a few layers to it, which again, well, put it this way, it suits this song extremely well because it has this really sort of almost like this haunting, chanting sort of theme to it.
Thank you.
It works very well. It's probably more like a percussion thing rather than a drummer, because it is predominantly those speaker drums. But
yeah, absolutely. But
anyway,
I really like how they sort of shifted. It's such a simple pattern, but they just found other variations to do. With how they hit the rim of the drum, and Anyway, sorry, this is just a sidetrack. But
yeah, awesome. Now it's I'm more than happy to have a chat about your drums, but I would much rather want to hear about you, man.
Okay, yeah. So you do you.
But obviously, like it's been a couple of months, and you were off Facebook for a couple of weeks, and nothing happened. Nobody knew where you were and stuff.
Yeah.
But you were composing, I've heard.
I've went off the grid, and I did get a lot of concerned messages, which was really cool. Just to know that people know this. Not that I did that as a cry for attention, but you know what? I think I have this desire, and I would like to think that a lot of other composers might as well, that I wish we had the freedom to sometimes just disconnect, go 2 months out of the year off the grid, no distractions, no social media, no work, no day job, nothing, and really just sink into the art, because it allows you not only to obviously create more, but more importantly, it allows you to experiment, because normally you can't now, spend 100 hours on a song. You're just going to try and finish the song as soon as you can between your other stuff that your life requires you to do. That's why I said this is a perfect opportunity. I'm forced to be on this vacation in my house, a staycation. So might as well be productive. And I really wanted to work. I've started working on this new opera, which I've pretty much started writing, I think last June. So it's a year, just about a year. And I went off the grid in April, for about 5 weeks. And at April, I was just over halfway with the opera. I would say three fifths. Yeah. Right. So it took me more than 6 months to do 3/5, and then in that marathon of like 5 weeks where I wake up and that's all I do, and that's till I can't do it anymore and I have to go to bed. I managed to complete it. So it was a massive achievement, and I don't think I would have been able to do it to the level of detail that I ended up doing it if I didn't have this freedom. So yeah.
But how do you? I understand you obviously, like, you're by yourself. You don't have a kids or partners or anyone else to distract you. So I suppose in that aspect, you're quite lucky, if you could say. But how do you manage to be so productive for so long? Like, not only just a couple of days, but a couple of weeks. I find that quite fascinating.
Yeah, well, a lot of power walks to get out of the zone. I find that was the biggest help. A lot of coffee as well. Not because I need the caffeine. It was more like as a treat. Every time I start to feel a bit sour about, I've just been sitting, and this is not working out. I needed something, so, either chocolate or coffee, just something like that. But look, I just find whenever I'm trying to be that productive, I can get, for lack of a better word, anxiety, because it's scary, like to put that pressure on you, to tell yourself every day now you're going to do it. But I always then just try to take a step back and just think baby steps. And I'm just telling myself, well, all you got to do now is, let's today just write poetry, just write lyrics. And don't worry if you don't know how the music is going to be or if it's going to match up. And every time I just select like a little project. And then more often than not, after I push myself to get started, you get the inspiration and then you just let that wave carry you. So as long as I have a task to begin my day every day, so usually when I finish a day, I would think what would be my task for the next day. And then in the morning, I come and I go, well, I just have to do that task. And then if I don't have motivation, I'm stopping for the day, because I don't have to do this. No one's with a gun to my head. When are you going to complete this opera, Kesh? So, and with the some days, definitely, if it didn't come, I didn't force it. I did the little task that I put to myself. Today, I'm just going to write the notes of the violin, for that song. I did that, felt as if I'm not a total failure, and stopped,
Yeah.
But like I said, more often than not, what it happens, once you do start doing that, the creative juices start flowing, and then it's actually hard to stop. That's when you start not noticing that, I don't know if I can swear on your podcast, but holy fuck, man, I was sitting here for, for like 6 hours and didn't even move because I was just so into figuring out what's the next note. So that's how it works for me.
And so how does these songs, how does these compositions, how do they get in your brain? Like, because it's like you've written the Dements, we're both dressed for the occasion here, but like how do these ideas start? Because this new this new opera is about the Holocaust, which is obviously a quite personal subject. So how do these ideas start, and how do you sort of get them from your brain and down into your computer?
Yeah. Okay. So look, I don't feel as if I created enough of this scope of projects to give a generalized version of how do they start. You know what I mean? Because it's not like I've done 10 of those and I just know the process. So it's a bit different every time.
But it's obviously going to be quite unique to you, to how you work, because again, like you've done more than just these musicals. You've done quite a few original songs and collaborations as well, including the song that we opened up with. So again, I think that I find fascinating is actually finding out from the different guests how they put an original song together. It's completely different if you're playing a cover song. Because you've obviously you've done multiple covers in your own versions as well, which is a lot easier because you have the whole template. You just got to make it. You just got to change it a little bit. But coming up with an original song, and especially an opera like that is quite unique.
Yeah, it is. But so as I said, just for me so far, there hasn't been a clear pattern though, because I only did two. Well, okay, technically, I'll tell you this: there's 4 projects of that scope that I've attempted in my life. There was the Dements, my very first opera. There was another full opera that we wrote back in the day that was, I'll admit, not very good and never really got to public. But literally all the songs are written. It just needs a lot of work before I'll ever even think about releasing it. And there was a musical I tried to write, and that was, I think, the first time in my life that I got writer's block. I got like 7 songs in, and I was like, I don't know how to continue this. So maybe one day, and then this new one came. But so really the two complete projects are the Dements and the Holocaust, the new one. So with the Dements, it was a very different process, almost the opposite of this one. It was more about, I really like the idea of telling a story through music. So instead of just composing, which I do a lot anyway, just cool guitar riffs or interesting chord progressions, it was more about, let's try to imagine themes, like how would the conflict sound? Or let's say if 2 people are fighting, what can I conjure on the guitar? I was very young, so a lot of trial and error, and usually I might just play and I just stumble on something and go, wow, that really feels like a love song. I'm going to file it, under that emotion. And I sort of built this library of emotions. And then when I sat with my writing partner for the Dements, because that one, the Holocaust I wrote on my own, but the Dements is with Gabriel Leffelman, who wrote the lyrics. So I just sort of showed him the emotions, and we started just thinking about an outline. But it was almost, I don't want to demean it, but it was almost taking the piss. It was more about like, well, we like Alice Cooper and we like Kiss, and we're not, so what do they have that we like? Let's make sure our story has that. Let's have a torture scene. Let's have a ghost. Let's have drugs. We started with just really big rock and roll ideas. And then it was like, let's find a way now to piece it together. And I remember after we sort of came up with a basic outline. We were like, okay, there's going to be two brothers, there's going to be a love triangle. Then I went with that home, and I took all my themes and I started like just creating scenes and just dividing. And I started saying, okay, we're going to have about 12 to 15 scenes, and just mapping what would be if I already had a song in that vein, in that emotion, just connecting, and that would be a starting point for the composition, which at the end, almost all of them ended up being completely changed as we wrote the lyrics, but it gave us a start. So it was a very disjointed effort, like very songs that sometimes were composed 2 years in advance, and and like we just sort of made it work through a lot of work. Yeah. Whereas this one, it was the complete opposite. I knew exactly the entire story from start to finish. I knew all the layers that I want to anticipate with musical motifs and stuff like that. And the hard part was actually figuring out the music this time. I had like no music to start with, and because the story was so detailed, it was very demanding, right? Because you can't just write a song now with chords. You really have to understand. Okay, I need a very specific set of notes and very specific feel for this scene and so on. So that was the experience for this one. And I'll just give you one more little side note, but just because we're touching on
please.
the new opera. But and actually a real cool story, and I'm sure it's going to sound fake to some people, but I swear 100% true. Okay, is that this new opera, actually, I can't say it without sounding cheesy, but it came to me in a dream. I'm sorry. I can't even keep a straight face, but it did. I've never had an experience like this. Now, you know me, because we know each other in real life, right? And I'm not really a religious person. I won't say I'm not spiritual, but I'm not a religious person. And but I can't shake the feeling that this was sort of given to me, because I went to bed and I dreamt the whole opera, all of it, the whole story, everything, with the songs, with the music, which I couldn't remember after, but in the dream it was there.
Yeah.
And I woke up. I never woke up like this. I woke up, and where I was lying on the bed, there was literally an entire frame of sweat in the shape of my body, because I was sweating all night. My brain just was working so hard for the entire night, dreaming the entire musical. So I woke up completely fatigued, like with muscle sores and stuff. And it immediately started escaping. All the music and stuff started fading away. And I said, and I also knew that I was just developing the Demen's show. It was in 2015 when I dreamt that dream. And I went, okay, I'm just going to write for myself quickly the story, the highlights.
Yeah.
There was this amazing recurring motif that kept repeating there. That was like the emotional core of the music. It was like, okay, I'm going to write that down before I forget. And hopefully that would be the seed that one day, a few years later, I can listen and start again trying to understand where can I go from there. So literally that's how it happened. And then all the music, it's sort of new music. I don't think it was the same like the dream, but it's all sort of inspired from that original seed from the dream. And the story is 100% from the dream.
Far out.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to sort of decipher everything and actually write the story down into words or the lyrics?
The story, yeah. Okay, well, not just the outline. Which, by the way, if anyone ever is thinking of trying writing a musical or an opera, the best tip I can give, not that I'm an expert yet, because I've only done a couple, but at least from my experience, outline is just life-changing. The more detail you put in your outline, it just makes it so easy to just understand what do you need to do, and if you need to think about a verse that would foreshadow something in the future, So I really try to write details, outlines, where I would write like what would happen, and who sings and stuff like that, and also key words like he's gonna say the word red. I don't know why. I just know, it's going to work out if you use that word. And it really helps me when I have just one page, but I can always reference that as I write all my songs. Sorry, I forgot what was the question.
It was
how do I come up with the lyrics, right?
Yeah, so how you decipher that, your sweaty dream.
Yeah. So it was a sweaty dream, but yeah, I wrote the outline as fast as I could. I would say 75% of the story was like in 30 minutes of just writing and immediately, just trying not to forget. And the rest just came back to me as I was sort of thinking about it. And then writing the lyrics, that was a really big task. Not easy at all, because I was trying to also, I guess, step up my game as a writer in general. And because the subject matter is so heavy, it really needed gravitas with the lyrics. It couldn't be just your normal pop lyrics. But then again, also finding the balance where the lyrics won't be too vague or, too, full of metaphors and stuff where you just can't really understand what they're saying. It needs to be plain enough for you to hear it on the first time and know exactly what the story is, but still have a sense of beauty to it because it's a song. So it took a long while. I'll tell you this. So the process I've developed for this opera, when I was trying to develop the lyrics, it's going to again sound mental, and I'm not making it up, right? I'm not trying to sound corny, but literally that's what happened. I would conduct interviews with the characters in my mind. So literally I would imagine as if now we're sitting in an interrogation room, and I'm asking them about that episode in their life. What happened? What did you feel? And I would just ask them, like you've done now interviewing me, and you're trying to understand my process. Literally, I would ask them, what's the process? So what were you really feeling, And when you saw him doing that, what's the reaction? And it's amazing because, like, again, I'm saying that I had this feeling as if it was given to me, the opera, and I kept hearing those answers in my mind, and it really didn't feel like it's me answering. You know what I mean? They gave answers that I don't know where they came from, but they felt very true. And probably the best example is the name of the opera. I was about 3 songs from finishing the opera, or 4 songs, and stuck without a name. And remember, I'm almost a year into this, and I still completely not even a shred of an idea how I'm going to call this thing. And I was talking to one of the characters, interviewing her about the finale of the opera. And I asked, like, what were you feeling when, that betrayal happened stuff? And she said, I don't know, it just felt like a hollow cause. Like, because all the journey was just so hollow of meaning if that's what happened. And it was like, that's amazing. That's the name. So she gave it to me. So it's weird how it can work. And I don't know, maybe I just went crazy in this shutdown. I don't know, you guys judge. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's super interesting to sort of, pick your brain a little bit on some of these processes, because they are quite unique. I don't know anyone who writes operas, let alone a rock opera.
Yeah.
So how's everything going in sort of getting this dream to life, or getting the opera out there? We're doing auditions at the moment. So sort of the next phase, basically now first draft is done, which means it's all the music and lyrics, but subject to change, because I think as I'm going to live with those songs, I'm going to start seeing stuff that I can make even better. Okay. And now to really understand that before we even think about taking it to the public, I'm doing like this vocal workshop where the idea is to find phenomenal singers, because it's very demanding. Singers hate and love me because they love the challenge, but they hate me because my melodies are so rangy. It's always a challenge to sing them. So it's finding the right singers that would be able to carry those insane melodies and have the emotional core, so we can really understand if the character is working, and if not, what do we need to change? So they need to really, even though we're not staging it on a stage and there's no acting per se, they have to be able to act while they sing, so we can understand, if it hits home or not. And sort of doing this workshop that we're going to do over the next month or two, we're going to, fine-tune all the harmonies and really understand if there's melodies that, on paper it sound nice, but when you put it to a human voice, sometimes it might feel too strenuous, or, you start to understand that there's stuff that can be even better. So it's really fine-tuning the vocals, and also through the performance, understand what is working and maybe not as clear in the story. And it's sort of going to end, we'll do a little presentation to peers in the industry and really get proper feedback from people that's their livelihood, if you put it on shows. Yeah. And then we'll know if there's anything that we're lacking, that we can now fix before we even do the first show. And I think that would be a much better starting point when we do bring it to the public, to already go through that process and give them a product that feels as if it's been existing for a while. It's not just fresh off and it's still a bit dodgy. It's really we're gonna really push it to sound as if we already had it a couple of seasons. Yeah, it sounds like an incredible, daunting and very, very long process. How, like, this must be incredibly time and mentally consuming. How do you sort of cope with that? Because I mean, if you sort of started writing this nearly a year ago, I think you said June last year. How long are you away from actually having just any sort of like stage pre-production or anything? It sounds like that would be many months away.
Yeah, I would be surprised if it would be less than a year, to be honest. Because the reality is that we also have day jobs, or even if you work in the industry like I do, you have other projects. The projects that actually pay the bills. And this being a passion project would have to, I can only prioritize it as much. This shutdown gave me the opportunity to prioritize it, but soon when the restrictions are lifted, it would be back to normal, and then it would have to be in between projects. So it would take a while. The other thing is that this project is a monumental task because it's designed for an orchestra. Now, I'm not really sure how an individual can produce a show with an orchestra, but you know me, if there's anyone that is crazy enough to try,
that would be you.
Me, so yeah. So I'll have to figure that out. But I've never worked with an orchestra, so I have no idea if it takes them a week to learn it, 3 months to learn it. I don't even know the timeline. So it would be a new experience for me to figure out how do we do a show on that magnitude with so many musicians involved. But I've got a good friend, Sam Perry. He runs an orchestra, and I think he's going to be the best advisor because he's actually a conductor. So a lot of those questions that I don't know yet the answers for, he'll probably be teaching me.
It sounds, it's to me, just listening at sort of like the scope of work, it sounds like that would be an incredible expensive thing to put up as well. How do you fund something like this? Because again, it sounds like it might just be like, there's obviously a lot of trial error at the moment, where you're testing out different people for different roles and parts and all that stuff. But how do you know if this is sort of financially viable?
That's a big question. Look, on paper, I can tell you it's probably not financially viable. Unless you have a Broadway production behind you. What I mean? Like I don't know how it can be. But the thing is, I'm trying not to even think about that yet. When that would be the final hurdle, I'll figure it out then. That's usually my process. Because if I were to think about this from day one, 100% I would quit. 2 songs in, I would just go, hang on, there's no point. Because I don't know how I can put this on stage, like I'm writing too big. And if I were to try to skim it down early on when I was being creative, I would feel as if the music is not really working for me. So I would get, all my inspiration would be gone. Yeah. So I'm sort of dividing it. While I'm in this phase, I'm just dreaming the biggest I can, trying to write the best music I can. And then when we'll actually be tasked with putting it on stage, then there'll be options. Look, one option, for example, is concentrate on the acting, maybe amazing video art, and no musicians, do it to backing tracks, pre-record it, and live vocals. It can still be a super entertaining show. Yeah. So the audience, are not cheated. There's a lot of shows like that. And that's an option. Another option is to not invest a lot in costumes and stuff like that, produce it like an opera. So you pay all the musicians, the orchestra, and the singers more, stand and perform it, rather than act it, you know what I mean? Like an opera. Yeah. So there's other ways, and of course, maybe there's going to be grants. Maybe I'll get super lucky and a production company would get involved. Maybe a local orchestra would find it attractive that a local artist wrote this and would want it as part of the program. So then, rather than hiring them, they might do a collab, and I won't have to pay $100,000 or however it costs, So
yeah.
So there's options, but nothing definite. But I'm not even looking for the solutions yet because that would scare me. So I'm just going to focus on the development of that. When that's done, then I'll put all my energy on finding solutions, and then hopefully it would work.
Good, man. Like it's so cool to hear you talk about this because like I can. I've got songs I've written 10 years ago that I still haven't managed to put together, and you're doing operas, man. Like and like you're not. Like, Demence was an enormous task. We can talk about that at some other time because I'm sure we could spend a couple of hours just talking about that. Sure. But it's so crazy to hear how it's like when you think there's just no limits. Like it's just like everything is possible, and you have this tendency to just make shit happen. No, but you have, like, again, like when we go through sort of like your credentials, even if you people go in and check out your YouTube page and stuff, like you got so many projects that you've done, and it's not like you just do the song, like you do the video, you find the people, you get involved with the musicians. Dangerous Roads that we started out with, again, perfect example. Like you just know people that you get involved, and it just happens. It's like it's just. I don't know if you have this magnet or something where you just draw people to you. But you just have this sort of aura that just make you produce stuff and make things happen, which I think is quite admirable. How does that happen? What's the skill, man? I need people need to know.
Look, yeah, that's not something I feel you can teach. It's really it's really a personality thing. It's you know what I think actually. Okay, I'll tell you this. I think what that might help me in a weird way is probably a pretty a level of OCD. I think if I wasn't as anal and meticulous as I am, and I wouldn't be able to break things the way I do, because how I already said a few times how I'm just going to focus on that, or I'm just designing a task. And because my brain always likes to what's the word? Compartmentalize? I can't say the word. You know what I mean? When you make things into compartments.
Yeah. You put everything in boxes.
Yeah. So because my brain is so good at that, then every project that normally when I was young and I would think about big projects like that, I would give up, and it wasn't being defeatist. It was just being a bit of a realist. It's like, well, okay, clearly we can't do that. Like for example, Demands. We wrote that. Back in 2004 or something like that. So ages ago, and I've never wrote the orchestration for it. I didn't write even one single harmony or choir part for this. I didn't, and we never even tried to produce it as a rock opera. We treated this as a band doing concept art rock, like the Who did Tommy and Pink Floyd did The Wall. Before those became big shows, just the album version, and it was cool, and we had a vibe, and I didn't even dare to dream bigger for that project because it felt like I don't even know, I don't know how to write orchestration, I don't know how I'm going to get the people, I don't know. There was so many roadblocks that you just go, okay, that's retarded, I'm not going to go there. But what had happened later on, as I started developing connections, I started to understand that that's a mistake. The way that I feel, the goal should be always to dream as big as you can, and then when you get scared, which is totally natural, break it down. For me, that works the best. I just go, okay. I remember when I was redesigning the Demands for what I call the reboot in 2015, when I actually did the project for real. I got really scared because I started booking musicians, and I realized that wow, this is a lot of work, and I've never done work on this scale before. So maybe I should stop because I've never learned it. So maybe maybe this is a fool's end, and I'm actually writing really bad. And I was trying to do everything at the same time, like writing, new parts and orchestrating and harmonies. And I just felt every time as if I suck because everything was just mediocre, because I was going over too many things, and all the time I just saw the set list, and I was like, I'm just on song 2. Oh my God, and there's 15, and I put already 50 hours, and it's like I'm just at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then I when I panicked, I was like, okay, let's pause. I actually paused the recording, and I was like, I'm just gonna start trying to think one thing. So I said, okay, forget about orchestration. Let's just focus on vocals. Let's just go every day, song by song. One song a day. Do this one song. Just think about the vocals all day. If you don't have any idea, don't write anything. But just think about that song all day, vocals, and that's it. And then so the first few days I didn't have a lot of ideas, but after a while it's like going to the gym for your mind. You activate that muscle every day, and it's the fact that it's a routine. It really helps you develop. That's what I feel. Because nowadays obviously I'm so switched on because I've been doing it, for so many hours every day. That it is ridiculously easy, but it's like they say, you put 10,000 hours and you become a master of something. Now, I don't think I'm a master, but I think I'm much better than I used to be. And it's not a struggle anymore, and it used to be a massive struggle. So once I started developing that method of, being a bit OCD about it and just really giving myself just boundaries all the time, it became so much easier and achievable. And before I knew it, I was like looking back and going, wow, I've got an insane vocal score. Like, I'm really proud of that vocal score. You know, it's like, I feel like it's next level. And I know it is nowadays because I got validation from singers that came and sang, and people that work for the WA Opera Company and stuff. And they went, this is one of the most challenging vocal scores I've ever saw, and in a good way. You know, you write so complex, like, and not many composers can do what you do, and it still sounds completely harmonious. And, you know, getting validation like that, I was like, that's crazy, because, yeah, I never thought that I would be able to do that. So I think this is a long way of saying that that's my process. Yeah.
No, it's super cool. And yeah, I could sort of, what was I about to say? I could imagine that would be quite an accolade to get from people.
For sure.
But a very, very interesting thing that I would like to ask you, just to slightly just change the subject. That is something I've actually always wanted to have a chat to you about. That is sort of where everything began, because you grew up in Israel, and you've told me sort of from time to time a couple of stories about your childhood, which had some pretty interesting stories, so to speak. And obviously, like, to where you are today, a lot of you sort of like your whole path is shaped like you'll get older and wiser, but everything starts, sometime. So could you maybe try and take us back and try and tell us how you picked up a guitar, how you found music, and how that sort of defined you before you came to Australia? Because I think that's a really interesting story that I personally would love to hear.
Sure. It's a bit of a long one, but yeah,
we have all the time we need.
Okay, sure. So, okay, look, I started, I guess, what you would call relatively late, because now being a guitar teacher, I see that the normal age for people to start is like 8, 10, 11, 12, and I started. It was year 11 in high school when I really started. I might have gotten the guitar just a bit before that, but this is something I mentioned in a few other interviews I've done, that I was sort of shying away from. I had a desire to learn guitar, probably since I got to middle school, I would say. But I just thought it would be impossible, because I was born with fine motor skill issues in my fingers. So
right.
I won't say it would be medically impossible for me to play, because obviously I play, but it was, back then, it just didn't look realistic in any way, because I was struggling with way more simple stuff, from using scissors to, writing, even as a teenager. So thinking about playing guitar just looked completely hopeless. And it wasn't until my friends started playing and I started thinking, well, maybe I can at least learn a couple of chords, so I can play with them, not for a band even, just like in a house party, you know what I mean? And really, because I really just love music, and it was really just a genuine passion, not any ambition to ever go on stage or write music. Oh, God forbid, I never thought I'm going to write music. And it was just really, I want to enjoy music with my friends. And as I anticipated, when I started playing guitar, I couldn't catch up with anyone. It was 10 times slower than anyone. I would be like 6 months in, couldn't even play bar shapes when your finger is strong enough to press on all 6 strings. Other people can do it in a couple of months usually, and I was almost getting to 1 year on guitar, and my fingers were just so weak and just wouldn't cooperate. So all the small things became really challenging, and it could be what that developed this regimen that I have, that I call it OCD, but whatever it is, because really to advance every time, I just had to put way more hours, and teach the fingers, and I just became very disciplined, I guess, through that process. But yeah, I think after a couple of years, something sort of broke. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's like a new connection was formed between the brain and the fingers, like a new neural pathway. And I won't say that I was like an overnight slash, but you could just feel that suddenly it's not so much of a struggle. Suddenly they're actually obeying my command. And that was an amazing feeling. And I think this is why every time that I do pick up a guitar and play, you would know you play with me, I've got this silly smile on my face that I can't shake, because it really runs in my body, like this really deep feeling of joy, because every time it's like an accomplishment, seeing my fingers actually do adapt things And nowadays, I'm considered to be a pretty formidable guitar player. So to get to the level where it's not that I can play guitar, I can play guitar well. It's mind-blowing, Every time I look at my fingers and I just go, I can't believe it. I was telling a friend the other day, I was showing her like, you know how you can do this with your fingers, stuff like that. Obviously, I couldn't. Yeah. So I literally had to go back home because people would tease me in school because I couldn't do this. So and I went back home so adamant to learn it. I would put books between my fingers to try and remember the sensation of the stretch. Then I would put a book and then take it out and try to, come on, do it. Hours until I could train all my fingers. This is even before guitar, because I'm saying that the simplest things was a challenge. So then I'm seeing myself, doing the shredding, whatever. It's not that I'm about the technical aspects of playing guitar. It's more about the feeling of amazing accomplishment, that you can do that. And I think I carry this with me now, whatever I do, whether I compose or stuff like that. So I trailed off. So we're saying how I got to guitar, right? So was there anything else in that question that you wanted to cover?
It was just more sort of also sort of touching base on. I think at one point you were talking about obviously Israel has had a lot of turbulence with Palestine, and there's been a lot of a lot of disturbances and wars going on there. And I think at one point you were telling me how you were in a bomb shelter or something and practicing guitar, something like that. And
I know. Okay, no, I think actually you misunderstood me on that. But there was a bomb. Okay, so there's a lot of apartments in Israel that would have a designated safe room. Because there used to be a time where missile attack would have. We thought there's going to be a lot of it, and thankfully there hasn't been in my area. But there's definitely been a few wars where the missiles got even to the areas that were safe. And then sort of this building frenzy of building apartments with safe rooms was the thing. And it is, I guess, a bit like a bomb shelter. Yeah, for sure. Because the walls, it's like from steel and everything sort of locks 100% inside. And we moved into, just as I was starting to play guitar, actually, we moved into a house that had one of those. And then that's actually where I got to jam and make noise all the time, and no one could hear me because that was my bedroom. We just made that into my bedroom. So I literally was living there. But it's funny because we don't even register that in Israel. It's such part of the climate. But thinking back, there was a big studio that I work at that was literally the city's bomb shelter. So there's a few safe areas for if you're stuck in the street and you need to run and there's an attack. So there would be like a place where you can go underground and there's a shelter. And because there's been quite a few years where in the center there was no missile attack, the city started to lose the restrictions on those areas, and a few guys convinced them to lease it to them and build recording studios inside. And the deal was they can use it as studio, but if there's an attack, they have to open the doors and let the public come in and fuck the equipment. This is now a public zone. Doesn't matter how expensive the gear is inside, anyone can come in for safety. And they took that. And so I was literally just working a bombshell. It's a bit weird, but that was the reality.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's again such. Yeah, but it's again just so surreal. Like it would be it's impossible for me to imagine how that would be, and sort of like the feeling you would have knowing that. Something that could happen and did happen. Am I right? Like you said, there was frequent attacks from time to time and stuff.
Well, in a few of the big wars in the 90s, there was, and there's still. I mean, they've got issues with missiles all the time. If you're living in territories that are on the extreme borders, you're in danger all the time, and that's daily life for them. And I haven't even been, in some of the settlements. I don't even understand what's the situation in terms of bomb shelters, but it would be next level, I would assume, every public grocery store. I don't know how you deal with so frequent attacks where it's almost daily. But in the center, we were relatively safe. So, you could go years without experiencing an attack. It did happen a few times in my lifetime. I did get to sort of live through some of those times, but nothing too serious, thankfully, on my end.
So was that sort of fairly easy to just shake off and move on, or? And I think even those in the extreme areas, once you are living in that reality, it just becomes a reality. So
because you can't just live in constant fear. That's a human can't sustain himself like that, So you develop dark humor to cope. You laugh about that. Because let's say, okay, so missiles I didn't experience much, but bombs like suicide bombers, like on buses and stuff, I definitely did. There was a craze in the 90s. It was all the rage. And going like to school on a bus was almost like playing Russian roulette. It was getting crazy, man. Like it was, I would sometimes just walk to avoid it, because even if it was a really long walk, because it was just so frequent. And but you didn't wake up with fear and go, I don't know, I'm afraid to leave my house. I'm not going to go do shopping today. Never. No. You get used to it so quickly. It's amazing how quickly. And you just go, well, that's life. I can go onto the street and get run over by a car. So I'm not thinking about that all the time,
But like that sounds bizarre to me. Like, like a suicide bomb. Because I suppose, again, like in the Western world, knock on wood and all that stuff, like we so incredibly rarely hear about anything like that. And if you're saying that happens all the time, that it was like, like playing Russian roulette, like how old were you when this happened? Or this phase in your life?
I would probably, don't hold me to this, but it would probably be between 5th and 8th grade. I feel like that those were probably the big years.
And you're saying you just woke up and said, "No, yeah, that's fine. I'm just going to go to school. Hopefully no suicide bomber is going to be in my bus," or was that just how it was?
Pretty much, yeah. I think it's more of a question. I wonder, how the parents really cope with that, because that's scarier. I think maybe as a kid you might not understand the gravity of the situation necessarily, because we're born with this false feeling of as if we're invincible, and we're never going to die or whatever. We're never going to go old. So I think as a kid it's a bit less realistic. You see it, you understand that it's sad, but you don't really think there's a chance it's going to happen to you. You know what I mean? That's yeah.
But yeah, good point. Like being a parent, like obviously, as you know, I've got 3 little boys myself. Like if I knew anything like that was possible, I can't even fathom how you would react. But that's because it's so surreal. Because something like that would be so unlikely to happen here or happen in most Western in most Western worlds.
Absolutely.
So how did your parents cope with that?
Well, we were raised by my mom. She's a single parent, but she was extremely chill about this. And, I think looking back, I'm sure there were parents that weren't chilled about that, and maybe the kids were a bit more neurotic about, that sort of stuff. I'm pretty sure that because she always acted as if, this is no biggie, don't worry. And that was her coping mechanism, and I think she was trying to make us at least feel safe and happy, and not be worried all the time. So I remember, like, it was to the point, I remember one time they actually ran a story, interviewed her for the newspaper, because while we did have the missile attacks, this is in the Gulf War, they were bombing, they were sending like missiles with, it was like chemical warfare. So there was a risk of actually getting, bombed with a gas that would, I don't know what it would do to you, but it wouldn't be good. So every time there was a siren, you had to move to a safe room. Our house back then didn't have like a bomb shelter or anything. So there was like this protocol where you have to like tape your windows so it won't explode on you and all sorts of stuff. And there was like one room in the house that you sort of designate, this is the safe, and you try to, it's like baby proofing. So it's like bombing proofing, yeah? You try to make that one the safest. And then when the missile hits or when there's an alarm, you run to that room and cover, like just before an earthquake. But now there was also a protocol that you have to push gas masks, like in the movies. And if it was an extremely little child, like my brother Rami was really small, he actually had to be in like this whole hazard suit thing from head to toe, completely covered, because his immune system, is so young, like he would be even more fragile against that attack. So we did do that a few times, but then she was like, no, I'm not going to bother. Let's just stay in the living room, watch TV. And she was so chill about this, and we were like, okay, I guess it's okay. And I think I only started to understand it's not okay when I don't know how it came to be, but they actually interviewed her to the newspaper about her not being, a person like that doesn't run for shelter, that just thinks it's okay. So I don't even know what to go with that story. I just remember that it happened, that episode. I remember that someone interviewed her about that. And I think maybe then I because I was still really small. I would have been, I don't know, 6, 7. So,
Man,
but I remember that made me realize, okay, maybe it's weird. Yeah, it's a pretty weird place.
Oh man, look, Kingsley, my oldest son is 6, man. Like just trying to imagine that, and then having two younger kids, man. Stuff like that is that. What? How are you not completely derailed, man? Like that must be.
A lot of Israelis are not, because we really laugh about it in Israel, so it's a different mentality.
And like, it's just, again, like I said, I literally don't know what to say, because it's so unfathomable. Because
think about it. Sorry, mate. Go ahead.
No, I think I know what you're going to say, because to you that was just life. That was just how it was, right? And again, I suppose, like where I grew up, I was, you went outside and played, and it was a safe childhood. Growing up in Denmark, it's like Denmark is like one of the smallest freaking countries in the world, and so isolated up north in Europe and stuff. But like the whole Western world in general, like you would never see anything like this. Like so that's why I'm saying it's just so unimaginable. And then again for you as a 6-year-old and having your brother as well to have put gas masks on and go and hide in a safe room and stuff, like that is crazy, man. And suicide bombers on the school bus, like I don't even know why I'm laughing, because it's so crazy, man.
There we go. You're starting to get it, man. That's how we deal with it. You gotta laugh, otherwise you're gonna cry, right?
But like, did you know anyone? Like, did any of your friends die? Like, did you know anyone who got bombed?
Yeah, I know people that got hit, particularly in the army, admittedly. But even if I didn't know people that got hit in the bombings that we had in Tel Aviv, it would literally though happen in a way that you feel related, because let's say I was just in that coffee house, yesterday, and now it's bombed, or I remember actually when I left the army, the next week, the same bus stop on the same day that I would have always have taken my bus back when I'm, on the day when I'm off duty from the army, got bombed. And I saw it on the news, and I was like, this is insane. Up to last week, I was in that, I would have been there. I would have been there, and it's just complete fluke that I'm not in the army now and I'm not in that station anymore. But it's insane. And you see those flukes and you just go, on that day you feel a bit shaken, if you think about that, but very quickly you move on with your life. But yeah, it's really amazing how close you can come to, those brushes with death, and you almost don't feel it, but it's there because you're seeing the news that, man, I take that bus every other day, or, I go to that mall all the time, and just like you did, I didn't this time, so it is weird. So yeah, I know what to tell you, but I'm sure there's been situations in history where other people experience hardship, like World War, so we're thinking about the soldiers, but think about back home, about the new way to live without a lot of demand, with women working in factories, with a lot of hardship, with food portions, stuff that you would, and also sometimes planes do come and bomb, the civilian populations as well, in England, and they survived, and of course people would get PTSD out of that, but the majority didn't, because what that happens very quickly, you just, after a week, 2, you just go into this survival mode where that's life, so let's at least live life, This is actually something we're exploring in the new opera, about how even when they're experiencing something that's really, unimaginable, hard, the hardship, I can't even think of another time in history where such horrors and, and that scope happened. And we really flesh out those horrors in the opera, but you also see how they keep on living, and sometimes almost in a light-hearted way, because that was the reality. Until the moment that you really break and lose all willing to to live and maybe become suicidal. Until that point, though, you would always seek, for your sanity's sake, a way to also sometimes have something to smile about. You know what I mean? Because you have to cope with life.
Yeah,
life have to continue.
Man, that's incredible. It is, and again, it's just so surreal to hear you talk about it, because I understand that, you know, the whole thing about the World War II and Holocaust. Again, you're absolutely right. That is one of the most horrific things that has happened in human history. But it still seems like that is too far away for it to sort of be real, if you know, because it was different generation. Whereas you talking about it, you know, I'm a couple of years older than you, so that's all of a sudden it makes it real to me that's something that has happened in my lifetime.
Absolutely.
And it's still happening. Like it's still far out, man. Like that is, I actually had no idea it was that crazy that you had, you know, suicide bombers, and you know, it was so close to where you were. And actually I didn't know you were in the army either, but that's a whole different story. Far out, man. Far out.
Look, but that's the thing. If my family or friends would hear me talk about Israel, because when I talk about this, I really try to give a realistic picture. But in Israel, we downplay it so much that they would now, if they are watching, or if they watch later, they're going to have a laugh and they go, "Oh, Kesh is so dramatic. It's not that bad. Oh my God!" Like, you know, he makes it look like I can already hear my brother rolling his eyes and just going, "Oh, that's just Kesh being a fucking drama queen." But I'm not, because I'm not saying I'm not a depressed person from that situation, you know. And you see, I'm not saying, "Oh my gosh, it was horrible, and I can't believe I'm a survivor." It's not like that. But I am trying to at least give people that were not from there. There is a gravity of the situation, even though we have this thing in Israel where we always go. I remember one time we were doing a gig, right? Here we go, we're talking music, right? Band, doing a gig. And then someone like said, "Oh, there's been a bombing on the club across the street." And then one of the other guitar player just asked like, "What's the score?" You know, like in a football game, like how many bodies? And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so dark." But then we started laughing because, you know, it was, we had all sorts of situations where it's really absurd. And I think especially when you're living in Israel, it becomes such common to downplay that, you'll meet the average Israeli that's just a tourist. I don't think they'll tell you anything bad about living in Israel. You know what I mean? They sort of have this mindset where, "Nah, it's completely cool, man. Come on. There's nothing bad." Yeah. Once in a while there's something, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you do hear about Tel Aviv should be quite a vibrant city and a beautiful city. Like every time I've seen those tourist ads for Tel Aviv, it looks like, wow, I'd love to go there. But then again, you know, you see something on the news, you go, maybe not. But but look, you sent through quite a few photos from your sort of some of your musical memories back from Israel. So that's obviously you being a bit older, because I think you said before you started playing guitar at 11, was it, or something?
Well, E11, so I would have been about 16, 17.
Okay, yeah. So how was it? How was the early days of playing music in Israel?
It was fine, I guess. I started like with a high school band. We sucked, but it was a lot of fun, you know. Practice in a bomb shelter, believe it or not. The school bomb shelter, actually. That was fine. And then I actually, so in the army, obviously, I couldn't really do a band and play. I jammed with a few people on breaks, but it was really hard, and you know, hard to also advance on the guitar, obviously, because you don't have time to play really. But when I came out of it, I went into this band, and they actually were on the verge of getting signed. So I was very fortunate to join them, and that's why I met Gabriel. Yep. Yeah, he was the singer. He was actually the reason why I joined the band. The band was nice. They were trying to be like an Israeli Guns N' Roses. That was like the twist. And remember, this is it's still 2000s, so it is past that phase. But yeah, anyway, there was a market for that. I think they had a niche, but they were trying to do it and produce one of the biggest ones actually in Israel. Actually, a couple of them got interested, and it was amazing for me because I was really young, 20, 21, and you get mentorship under people that are top of their field. So the first guy that took us under his wing, Eli Zulta was his name, or still is his name, he's still alive, of course, is like one of the biggest underground producers in Israel. So especially for the rock scene. So it was really awesome every week to sort of have coaching sessions with him and see how he thinks songs should develop. And, just stuff that I was completely oblivious about sound, like, let's change the knobs on the amp. I was so oblivious. I wasn't even there yet, And understanding how a band works together, if the bass guitar is playing a note, why doesn't the bass drum hitting now as well sometimes? You know what I mean? Like, just stuff that, because it's not my instruments, I wasn't used on thinking. I was only used to thinking about my instrument. And suddenly I started to see the bigger picture of what was happening, and that was really educational. Then the bigger producer, the one from the actual mainstream label, came and started tutoring us as well. It was sort of a prep for a presentation to get signed with the label. So we had to sort of, but then he made it uber commercialized. All the rock was gone. It became a pop band. And me being naive and idealistic, I said to them, I'm going to bow out because I'm not about that. I'm not about, selling
not
out.
a sellout,
And the funny thing is, so I told Gabriel, I've been sort of hoping to write a rock opera one day, because just as a listener, it's like my favorite thing to hear concept albums. I love the idea of that. And I've been collecting like all sorts of little ditties on the guitar, but I don't know yet how to make it into a thing. And he said, oh my God, that's amazing. I love rock operas too. Yeah, Tommy, Jesus Christ Superstar, let's talk about it. So then we became really good friends and we created the Dements, and that was sort of the main band. So that ended up creating, we needed a band to perform it, because as I said, we thought about this just as an art rock, not as a stage show. So we're like, let's do a band. And at first we called the band the Dements, but then we were like, nah, that's not working. That's too confusing. So we ended up with a different name, Heavenbound, and that band was really good. Like for a long while, we had a bit of a cult following, and definitely in the underground scene, we were known. And in the city, there's no way that you couldn't know about us. We were everywhere in terms of stickers and, little fans and stuff like that. And the problem was that because we were creating music in English in a country that doesn't speak English, the success ceiling is extremely low.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if you were feeling the same thing in Denmark, but for us, it's like, okay, going on radio is not an option. Going on TV is not an option. Half the population doesn't even know English, and out of the other half, a lot of them won't necessarily like rock. So you are left with a very, very niche audience, and then you also want them to be close to you in your city. So we sort of, we were successful as far as the scene would let us, but we just got to that very low success ceiling, and there was nowhere to take it. And we were thinking, we should move to England and stuff like that. And when we finally sort of got to that stage, it's sort of, the band was already on its last legs from years of not really, making a living out of music or really having any sort of major breakthrough. So we disbanded. That was in 2009. So for most of my young adult life, that was my home, that band. And then I also developed a bit as a producer at the same time, because I worked in sound engineering and later on production. So I ended up being fairly well known in the music scene, for all the different talents that I do, which is sort of, this is now what I'm sort of trying to do here in Perth, because nowadays I also do videography and stuff like that. And I really find that the more you diversify your talents, the bigger the chance you have to actually make a living out of this, And even back then, I was the only one from the band that wasn't a waiter, that wasn't working in a bakery, wasn't working in a factory. I was either teaching music or, working in studios. So when the opportunity came to move here, though, it was a question, okay, what do I prefer? Do I want to already stay where I'm at, where I've got a career, it doesn't pay a lot, but I'm making a living. I don't know if I'll have a family, probably not enough, to be honest. So I don't know how it's going to look when I'm older. But I have recognition. I walk in the street, I get pulled over. Like I can't walk in the street and not get stopped. And if I want something in my network, if I need a musician or something, it's so easy because I know everyone and everyone knows me. And I've got the network. So the question was, can I move to Perth now at not a young age? Getting close to 30 when I moved here. And start from scratch without knowing anyone in the music network, not even a single person, and I don't know, getting to some level of success, and then the thing that attracted me was that at least in a place like Perth, you do have a chance of making an honest wage out of music if you're talented enough and if you develop that network. So it was a bit of a gamble, but I sort of chose to put the ego aside, and come here, be a bit humbled and start from scratch. And it was so good because I don't think I would have been able to do those ambitious projects like the Demands and the new stuff that I'm doing, or working out as in big musicals and all the stuff that I've been involved with if I wouldn't have made the move. Because if I don't have that financial freedom, and I'm not saying that I'm loaded or anything, but but now I'm at a place where I can earn enough for music to then pursue crazy dreams like Demands.
Yeah. I've got sort of two questions coming out of what you just said there. The first one sort of is relating to you talking about playing music that was in English to a population that doesn't appreciate English. Just to answer your question about Denmark, yeah, I've actually heard from a lot of people here when they ask me about Danish music, and I say, well, probably more than 50% of the band sing in English. And say, why is that? Why do they do that? Because it is like a second language. Everybody knows English in Denmark. Like it's taught in public school and stuff. But what's actually quite funny is in between the songs, you would sing a song in English, and then between the songs you'd say, oh, thank you so much, guys, and talk to the audience in Danish. So you have that sort of weird switch. But my question was, what made you guys focus on English in Israel rather than just realizing very early on that, okay, English is not for Israel, and then just saying, look, if you want to take this somewhere, we got to head out. We got to go to, as you mentioned, like London, or we got to go somewhere where English is appreciated and try and see if we can make it. Why didn't you do that?
Another question would probably be, why not just write in Hebrew, in the language of the country,
Yeah, but again, obviously, but then you significantly, then you can only be big, most likely only make it in Israel. Very few bands make it outside their home country singing in the native language. Rammstein is probably the biggest band that I can think of that are singing in a non-English language that are world famous, like A-class. But I suppose you're right. Like you could take a chance and say, okay, we're gonna be the biggest heavy metal Hebrew singing band in the world. But you didn't. So my point is, you were singing in English. You chose that deliberately. You wanted to be. You mentioned Guns N' Roses and stuff. So what was stopping you from going somewhere and giving that a proper shot early on? Because you said by the time you realized that, you were. On the last legs,
yeah. Well, it was the fact that a couple of things. First is money. We were broke as fuck, so
that's a very good excuse.
And it was also really lack of knowledge. Our biggest downfall was that no one knew how to manage the band. We were very, very talented creatively, I feel, and I was sort of pushed into the role of the manager, which I'm thankful for because it really developed that side of me. But I used to be the opposite. I used to never want responsibility. I was way too introverted and unconfident, and I didn't know how to express my ideas, how to articulate them. And it was hard enough for me to try and bring music into the band and articulate that. So to actually go and negotiate with pubs and clubs and all the stuff that you need to do, all the legwork, I was really, really bad at it when we started, but just no one stepped to the plate. And out of the band, I don't want to diss anyone, but I think it's probably safe to assume that I was the most passionate just because of the lifestyle that, I just chose to blindly say, I'm committing to that lifestyle. I'm going to live without a safety net, no day job, and I'm going to make it work or I'm going to die trying. I was that romantic about the idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that can only come from either you're completely crazy or you're very passionate. And I'd like to think that I'm the latter,
For sure.
Yeah. So I did end up managing, but there was a lot of stuff I didn't know. And I remember until probably the last year of the band, I didn't even know how to take us out of our city, just how to make those connections, how to do a tour, of the country or whatever. And we missed out in like a lot of years of just pretty much running in the same place of, yeah, cool. another show in our city, another show in our city. Everyone know about us. Great, they're coming. Now less people are coming. That show, more people came. And so just became like this fruitless thing where we do it because it's fun and we love playing songs, and we were insane songwriters. So we just wrote all the time. Like our catalog was insane in the amount of songs. It was a really good situation of a few songwriters in a band, so it was very, very full of creativity. But we became a fierce band to the point where people would come to study our showmanship. Like even if it's not the genre, so let's say extreme black metal bands would come and see us because we became so good, like it's so theatrical in the way that we would perform, like with windmills and headbangs and just going for it, and destroying ourselves on stage. But it was just, it's just the same thing though, and nothing really happened. And, I wish we would have found a producer or a manager, someone that really would know how to, because even nowadays, if you were to tell me, hey, why don't you take the Demons on tour? I'll be like, oh, I wish, I don't know how to do that. I don't know even where to start, who to call, the logistics, what I need to take care of. It's not really my forte, So I'm good at managing the project, but not that.
Right. I'm sure you could figure that out. That's interesting. Have you got those songs somewhere? That would be interesting to hear. Did you ever record any of it?
We recorded an EP, and we recorded, I guess, an album full of songs, but live in the studio. So we did the whole album in one take with some audience in the studio. That was our last thing we've done before we disbanded. Other than that, I've got dodgy live recordings of us actually doing the demands and maybe some other demos. But it was a different time because you sort of go, well, if you had a big band, why don't you have anything to show for it? Where's all the recordings? Where are all the videos? But you probably know, it was just not that common to do that much unless you're signed or something. You know what I mean? Like when you were still in the underground, it's like it costs a lot of money. It's not easily available. You got to hire professionals or something. And we had the luxury of me being a sound engineer, so that saved a lot of the recordings. That's why we do have some recordings in good quality. But we don't really have videos, and it was a different game back then. For
sure, it was. Yeah, it's very, very, very different to sort of when you look at now, where everybody can sort of sit at home and record a world-class sounding record in their bedrooms. Because you just have the technology available, and if you don't, then you can like you're doing, you can collaborate with people that do, and you can send it off to producers that are far better than you, and they will mix it for chips, for peanuts. It's ridiculous. So literally everybody has a say these days, or everybody have a voice. So my other question in regards to what you're saying before was, so you obviously chose to take the risk. You chose to give everything up and move to Perth and start fresh. What was going through your mind? Because that must have been uber daunting to just say, okay, I'm gonna give up my safety zone here. I know what I'm doing here, but I'm gonna give it all up and do something else.
That's right.
What was going through your mind there?
Well, obviously that I'm crazy. I did have another incentive. I had a partner back then that was sort of located here. So, a relationship is a major incentive, to go and fight for it and, make it work. And I think I probably would have quit because it was an uphill battle here for my first few years. I've been here now close to 9 years, just over 8. So I would say the first 4 or 5 years were an uphill battle for me, and just the last few, I feel like I've started finally getting to the place that I want to be. It was very daunting, and I had a lot of doubts when we moved, especially the first 6 months. I was on a bridging visa. I wasn't allowed to work, and I was it was a bit like the shutdown. I was just stuck at the house. It was my in-laws' house of the time, and that must have been fun. I just climb on the walls. That's actually how I learned to do video, because I said I need a new hobby. I can't. Right. That's when I picked up a camera, and literally I took a webcam, I don't know if you can see it, like this one, like the small one I've got there. Yeah. And Windows Movie Maker, and started making my first clips. Really, because I was just going mental, and I was talking to friends in Israel, and they were like, "Man, YouTube now is like all the rage. Yeah, you should do it." So But I think when in 2017, so 3 years ago, I sort of went up and down. I started to get into up till then I went like into the industry, got into the cover bands where I met you, and then started doing video productions for bands. And there was a time where money was coming in, but the network was still not there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I got some gigs, but I didn't do anything that really put my name out there so people would actively start pursuing, who is this Kesh? I want to meet him. Or I've heard about you. Let's work together. And in 2016 or 17, I really, I think, hit rock bottom. And I was very close to leave Perth. I was over that big relationship I had, and I was completely broke, starting to actually get into overdraft in the bank, and barely any work. And it looked quite dire. And I was like, I'm just going to make a Hail Mary. And that's actually what really propelled me to do the demand. So I was already done the album, which I've done a bit like a passion project just for my satisfaction. And you might remember this. I actually tried to do like a crowdfunding campaign and it failed. So it was like, okay, well, obviously the public doesn't want to see it, and I don't have the money, and I tried, let's close the book. But I just kept having this gut feeling that if I were to do it, then it would succeed, which I know is unlikely. That could be the ticket that would. It's not only doing a show that is good, but then it's also making people understand. Hey, hang on, this guy, he did the marketing, he did the video, he did the sound for all the backing tracks. He's a director. He writes. There's so many things that this could be a showcase for me. That I was almost, even if we don't make money, it could be the best advertisement in a way. My skills, better than all the money I put on Facebook ads and all the other stuff. So I just said, okay, I owe the bank already about $1,000 or $2,000, so I literally don't have money. Producing this show would cost $20,000 to $25,000, and I don't have income to do it. So how can I do it, right? I was like, okay, I'm just going to do a Hail Mary. I'm going to do something. I'll have to do a Maverick, and if it works, great. If not, I'll have to leave the country because there's no way I can pay this back. So, it was really that. It was really desperate. And my idea was, I said, okay, I'm going to try and loan money, from my brother, from friends, or whatever, just to produce the tickets, to print them, because I didn't have money to print even the tickets. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to try and really be cunning with the marketing plan and create, viral videos, hopefully, or something that would intrigue. That was phase one. And the second phase was I'm going to create an experience in the ticket. So if someone does buy a ticket, it would really make them talk about the show. So our tickets came as VIP lanyards, but also they came as a wedding invite for their character's wedding. And it looked so real that people actually called me and was like, I don't know this couple, I've got a wedding invite. And they bought the ticket. It came with the ticket, and they still didn't piece it together. But it made them talk. And it totally worked and made people notice. And basically, I started selling the show before I had the show. I didn't even have my cast. I didn't have my musicians for the live show. And I was selling tickets. And I was thinking, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm
it's happening.
This world's stupidest person. It's just, you can't stop the train now. People paid for this. I have to do the show. It was insane. That's why if you were to go back to the demands page, you'll see all the first 20 videos had none of the cast members or anything. So, because it's I didn't know yet. So
that's crazy,
it was just people talking about this. And I literally lived week to week from the money from the tickets. And it was so close, people don't know. We were literally sitting there sometimes, me and Sal, who was my second in command in this production, and just going, man, I might have to cancel rehearsal today because I can't afford the studio. I'm out of money. And we were like, let's keep the booking, and just hopefully by Thursday, more people would buy tickets. And every time, just at the nick of time, yes, we can do the rehearsal, guys, we're on, everyone come. It was we're so close. And the performers didn't know. Most of the performers didn't know. I don't think the dancers were in the know, and the musicians who didn't know. But a couple of the actors did, and it was really, really close all the time. And I'm also really lucky to have found what you said before. I've got this, I'm fortunate to have this personality that seemed to attract people. And I guess because I'm so extremely passionate about what I do, and you can see it with the eyes and, the way that I radiate that it really makes other people passionate as well. And a lot of people, gave their time for free, and really talented people, not just people that it's a hobby, professionals, set designer, costume maker, stuff that you just wouldn't believe. So it was a perfect storm of luck. And that I did end up losing money on that show. Not a lot, but I did. But definitely my prediction of that finally opening the door to have people interested in me for me, instead of just, I've got a friend that does video, I'll hook you up. You know what I mean? So It started to really become interesting for people they want to meet me. And a lot of the talent that I work with nowadays, it's really thanks to the fact that they have heard about me in some way. And now I can have the audacity to sort of approach them and go, I think you'll be great for that song, or, So yeah, it was, thank God, man, because now my life has changed, and now I work full-time doing shows and stuff like that. So it was worth it.
But that's again why. But again, it's just while you were saying all this, it sort of made me think about, there is this, I suppose it's a motto you could say, but there is this saying that the harder you work, the luckier you get, and it's true, because it's not luck, like you're obviously extremely passionate about what you're doing. But you also, like, you walk the walk, like you do it all, like you've spent so many hours writing the music, obviously years ago with your friend back in Israel, but then coming here, it just, I actually wasn't aware that you sold the tickets before you had anything. That's a really cool little twist to it. And I can see why that would sort of gradually fuel it as you go, because you're sort of drip fed financially, you get money. But I think that really, now that we are sort of digging into the whole Dements well here, I think that really blew my mind about the thing, was that you were sort of managing all departments in this whole enterprise. And I remember sometimes when you were talking about me, like I got stressed just hearing about it. Like, that sounds like that's way too hard. Like, how can you do that?
I lost a lot of weight, man, because it was so stressful. It was very, very hard.
Oh, I'm surprised you don't have gray hairs, man, because like that. Like, honestly, because I'm like, try and run me through a day in the life of Keshet during the Dements production. Because that sounds like, it sounds very unpleasant, to be honest.
No, look, there was something energizing about this, but yeah, it was a lot of problem solving. So it's harder now to remember, but I'm trying to. I do remember it was full on. I remember it would have been, stuff like, 9 a.m. Okay, so I need to, let's say, wake up, have my coffee, then. Let's go over all the ticket sales. Now, because I was trying to save costs, I was literally doing all the tickets myself. So every ticket, it's like a lanyard that you got to string, and you got to put, the VIP inside the lanyard. And then you got to take a CD and put the wedding invite inside. And then you got to package it, in that CD safe package, go to the post office, drop it, write the address on everyone individually, because I didn't even have a printer or whatever. So I started with all that. It's a major time-consuming thing, and then a lot of admin, a lot of like following up with questions from the actors, from the dancers, from the choreographer, from the set designer, from the makeup department. Usually, if I have then more time, we need to, we would have to drive and get a prop or a prop substitute just for the rehearsal, so that the actor would have something to have. And the other thing that was funny, it was my first show. I didn't know the protocol. So we would do all sorts of really stupid stuff because we didn't know better. So, for example, we would measure the stage, right? And then at the beginning of every rehearsal, for the first 5 rehearsals, we literally took gaffer tape or some sort of tape, electrical tape, and mapped out the whole stage in the room, which I can't tell you, it takes so long, to put meters upon meters of that fucking tape. But then also mapping where, one day, not now because we don't have it now, where the amps would be with an X, where the drums would be with an X's, specific points I want the actors to go for. And every time do it from scratch, because we clean it at the end. And so we have to get extra early, leave extra late, the people that actually do the tape. Eventually we invented this really amazing thing. We bought this giant rope, and we just ticked with a black marker where a corner would be. Right, so it's just a rope, right? But we just made after 10 meters there'll be a corner. We just tick, and after 5 meters another, and then we could just spread it, and it creates the stage because we know where to twist it. And that actually takes a minute to do. So that was amazing. So it was a lot of innovations like that. Look, and then we would film every rehearsal. So I would have to go home after, 12-hour day already, and then sit and watch again the whole rehearsal, which is like 2-3 hours long, and make all the notes for all the actors, and then send it to them. And meanwhile, just put in a lot of fires, because I was very hands-on director. Like, it was like, we can't get that material for the costume. So what do you want to do? And, and there was just a lot of stuff to work on. And at the same time, I guess, now we're getting to where it's time to be anxiety. I'm thinking about what's the next marketing ploy. Okay, so we now need to do a shoot. So maybe I'll even shoot it now in the middle of the night. I'll just put a black screen and I'll take one of the props and I'll do some sort of little camera thing. And now let's edit that into the night because I got already put it tomorrow morning because we need more tickets, So it was like all the time. It was endless, endless. But you were also really fueled. Everyone in the project was so pumped, and we felt like we were doing something really new and innovative. So I think that really just kept me going. It was just nonstop. It just sleep 4 hours a night and just keep doing the stuff. But yeah, it was stressful for sure.
But that's again, obviously you took a big chance there, both financially and I suppose mentally as well. Because again, if you sleep 4 hours a night for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, because there's a lot of rehearsals leading up to it and stuff like. But see again, but that's my whole point about the old saying about the harder you work, the luckier you get, because it sounds to me like that has paved the path to where you are now, because you didn't just meet a couple of people. Like there was like how many people was on the total crew there? If you look at everybody behind stage and like everybody involved there, because that's a huge amount to add to your network.
I think we ended up being close to 40. I'm pretty sure. About 40 people. It's like starting an enterprise. It's insane.
Yeah. So that's again like if you're working closely with 40 people over the duration of a month or two or however long it took. Like you become really close, and needless to say, if these people are doing it, for the love, they have a passion for it as well, so they can see your vision, they can see your drive, and you can't like stuff like that is priceless. So again, if people do that, of course they want to work with you because you have a passion, you're a good guy, and you're doing it for all the right reasons. And that's what I mean. Like that way you get lucky, because again, it's contagious. And that has now allowed you to obviously step up and work with bigger productions and bigger people. And, so that it's so like, it's a really empowering story, man.
Oh, well, I'm glad.
But it is.
I'm very lucky
for
sure. 100% lucky, man. It's really, it's not easy. You can't just wait for the luck. Obviously, you got to go and manifest it, and you got to have a lot of determination and willpower, because there's a lot of moments when it does get down, and it's the easiest thing is to quit. And everyone in the world would, and that's the other thing. A lot of people in society would tell you to quit as well. Like I would say the majority, not out of disrespect, more of like they really care for you. They don't want you to be homeless potentially, because you're risking so much that you can. Like you're doing stuff that is not really conventional in terms of how you're supposed to run your finances and stuff. And so I'm not bitter about people that told me don't do it or you gotta stop. And like I'm your friend. I'm telling you stop. Like there's no way. I understand where they come from. But what I'm saying is that if your dream is to be a musician or working anywhere in the arts, you have to sort of, at least in my experience, you have to ignore it and just have this blind determination that hopefully things would come together. And I've had, I've failed way more times than I've succeeded, so, but eventually, at least now, it's great that now we can talk, and I can talk from this place where I'm not concerned anymore for the future, you know what I mean? I feel like I've already got to a place which is fantastic, and I can only keep growing from here.
But that's again also how, like, that's the only way you learn. You learn from your failures, and if you don't let those failures stop you completely, then you move on stronger.
That's right.
And that's again why you having all those not sleepless nights, but obviously if you sleep 3 or 4 hours per night, you would have had. I'm assuming here you would have an immense stress level during those productions back in the day, but it didn't make you stop, and that's why like that to me is sort of like the essence of this is that you kept going, and again you defied all the naysayers.
Yeah.
And that again, I think a lot of creative people use that as fuel as well. Or you're saying I can't do it. Yeah. Well, fuck you. I'm gonna go out and do it.
Actually, I'll tell you a funny story about that. That when we did the demands, we actually we had someone on the crew. I'm not gonna name names, yeah, but we had someone on the crew that was supposed to take a massive load off my shoulders. Right? He was supposed to really help with a lot of the organization. In fact, I actually sort of started this because I knew this guy's experience. So I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to a lot of the theater stuff. I'm completely new. I'm a musician, and videographer now, but that's new. It's a bit different directing theater than video, very different ballgame. So there's a lot of stuff I didn't know. And he was under the impression that he would be the director as well. And then when I said, no, I want to maintain creative control, and I've got my vision. I do know what I want. I might not be able to articulate it as well, but I know what I want. And he said, okay, well, look, in that case, I can't say that he wasn't trying to be rude. He just said, I'm honest, I don't believe that you can pull off the show because you don't have experience, and this show is not easy, And he said, I'm going to have to bow out, and with any luck, you'll prove me wrong on opening night. That was the exact words he wrote on the email, right? And that was the greatest gift ever, because I was super doubtful all the time when we started. I was very doubtful, and every other day I had like a panic attack, and would just go, I should probably stop this, because it is a stupid idea. We didn't do the tickets yet. We were just talking about options.
Right.
And I had that voice in my head. You already failed. You failed with the crowdfunding campaign. It's not as if all of Perth is waiting to see this. People just can't wait to buy the tickets. Like it didn't look realistic. When he sent that email, though, it's like he lit a fire under me, and I just felt, I have to show him,
Good.
And it's great when stuff like that happen. I completely agree with you, 100%. Yeah, that's the way.
So has that sort of made that fire burn harder now moving forward? Like, are you a lot more confident in your? Have you been a lot more confident in your future endeavors after the demands?
Yes, 100%. Because you hope you create something good, and but you have no idea if it is when you're actually in the thick of it. You know what I mean? So I got validation, obviously, from the performers being so excited, and a lot of them are people that I've never met before. It wasn't like it was my friends, So to see strangers become so passionate about this, it does make you feel, okay, I think we're onto something, because otherwise it wouldn't be like this. Because I'm demanding more than the normal production because I didn't know how to organize it yet. So now I'm in real productions. I see, oh my God, the normal rehearsals is 4 hours tops, because I asked for them for 11. Oops, I didn't know, I didn't know the protocol, So, and they were so nice to indulge me like that. And they saw that I was stressing. I wasn't like, I can't say that I'm one of those directors that he was just a rock and always hid, all the stress, and you just felt like he's never getting. No, I came there with like those big wide eyes, just going like, you could see that I'm stressing. I think other people start stressing just from seeing me, because I was just like, oh my God, the clock is ticking. We have so many scenes. Let's try. It did work out. But I do feel more confident now, because it was, while not a financial success, you could definitely see in terms of attendance and acceptance, it was a success, So
for sure.
It made me realize that now going forward, if I move with more confidence and understand that the ideas I have are good, I can just get better in the way that I execute them. That's a very empowering thing. And I'll tell you another thing. Just we were talking before about what keep the passion going and stuff like that, and motivation. And I find that because you said if you work more, you get more lucky, right? But another thing that I found is that if you put yourself, if you sort of jump and sort of start pushing the train to start running, and then once it's on, that's a great motivator, because now it's much harder to quit, because now if I were to quit halfway through rehearsals, it's like I'm letting down all those people that put in the time, and all the people that bought tickets. It's much harder now to refund. I can't refund. I spend the money. It's like, it was like that, And this is why, because you have me on your personal Facebook, so you would know that while I was writing the opera, I kept writing all those updates on the opera, like To the Abyss. Just finished writing that song, and I really enjoyed, this change and that. And I didn't care if even I get 0 likes. I did that because of accountability, because I knew if I keep telling everyone that I'm writing this opera, I would feel so shit if I would quit. You know what I mean? Because already everyone is going to ask me, how is the new opera going? And I don't want to be that guy in every party that would have to go now. Actually, I gave up on that. I can't write it. So when I did get to roadblocks, and there was definitely, creative roadblocks, that really kept me going. Like that feeling of, I don't want to feel like a failure now that everyone knows that. Because if I was just writing and they didn't know, no one would know. It's like that musical that I tried to write a couple of years ago. No one knows about it. No one knows that I failed. So it was easy to stop. I stopped, whenever on the first roadblock. But here, that's exactly why I forced myself to write those overindulgent posts about my updates. So I would feel as if I'm accountable. So I feel that's a really good way, if you have a big project, to do that.
I don't even think it needs to be a big project. I think so many people can actually relate to that, because most people have some sort of ambition or some sort of dream that they would like to accomplish. It can be small. It can be, somebody wants to lose a bit of weight, or somebody wants to do get a promotion at work or something. But for them to sort of to talk about it, like sometimes it can be hard, because if you you kind of have to commit to it. So if you say it, especially if you write it on your social media pages, like you said, you're almost committing to it. Whereas if you sort of keep it to yourself, or just talk to your close, one or two friends about it, it's a lot easier to bail out, because nobody really knows about it. So it's really interesting to see how you put those updates on to make yourself accountable. But again, it makes perfect sense. And again, like sort of you in general is someone that I've always sort of looked up to as I mentioned earlier, as someone who just gets shit done. Like you have these crazy goals, or some are bigger, some are smaller goals, but you just make it happen, and that's extremely admirable. But look, I reckon it's a gift, and it is one of those things. Like I said, the harder you work, the luckier you get, because you do work hard. Like you do, again, those 12, 14-hour days, or as you said, when you were in lockdown, or had your staycation, or whatever you call it. If that's all you did for a month, of course you're gonna get shitload done. Of course.
Sure.
And again, and your time management as well is probably something like a skill that a lot of people, myself included, could really benefit from, because it's not easy to be able to schedule your day and stick to it.
Absolutely, and it's something that musicians in particular, we are notorious for not being good at that. So I do feel like I'm a bit of a rare breed. I don't know how it happened that I can be creative, and I'm so good at being very anal and meticulous on how I divide stuff. But thank God for that, man, because I think that's why I can keep on going. Yeah.
But so, funny question here, and I've got a bit of vested interest myself here. What do you do on those days where you've set your daily or maybe even weekly goals that I need to accomplish this? What happens if you don't accomplish that? Do you feel really down? Or?
Depends. If I don't finish it because I ran out of time, no. Then I know, hey, I did the best. I can't do more than this. If it's because I've been slacking, procrastinating, which nowadays I think the shutdown has changed me even more, Steph. Like I'm even more disciplined than I've ever been, because now I really do feel. It just became like almost like a day job, but in a fun way. Like I've got that discipline of, 11 a.m. is when I decide I'm going to start my days. I'm awake before that. I wake up at 7, whatever, but 11 is the start of the day. I'm opening my software for notation, and bam, we are on until, 7 p.m. or whatever. So if the problem I always had, but I had this from a young age, even when I was just practicing guitar. If I were to just say, I'm going to take a personal day, I'm going to watch some movies, watch shows, man, 2 hours into that, I would start to feel really guilty and really shit. I just have this thing about me where I just feel, man, you're not good on guitar yet. You know, there's so much you can be better at. You need to put in the time and work on that, because otherwise you won't have a chance to succeed. I know why I always feel that pressure. Even now, after so many years, I find it really hard to just, I hear all those people like, binge watch shows and all that. It's like, what is that thing? I can't. I want to, but I try. And after a while, I can watch maybe one movie. The second movie, I'm going to start to really feel that guilt and angst. The only time that I would really allow me is if I'm sick, I can't move from the bed really, or if I'm completely exhausted, okay, it's 10 p.m., my mind won't shut off, so I can't go to bed. Now I'll watch movies even for 4 hours, whatever, because I am exhausted mentally, like I can't keep thinking anymore. So that's when that's cool. But yeah, if look, today I didn't reach my goal. Right now I've got one goal per day, which is to do second draft of a song, one song per day. Just go over the notes and fix them, little things that in the thick of it got lost. And add even more nuances to the music now that I don't need to worry about what is the music. So now I can just focus, I want that violin to play a bit higher dynamic just for that phrase, or, just little stuff that you can't think of when you're thinking about everything. So one song a day is achievable, probably takes about, 5 hours to do it. But today, because I was in auditions and teaching and caught up with a friend, I didn't do it. I'm behind. So tomorrow I'll have to do 2 songs for me to feel good about myself. You understand?
Okay.
Because I'm not going to let it slide. I have to go back to my quota. So that's how it works for me.
Far out. Yeah, it sounds very time consuming, but in a really productive way. I had I was doing a stream earlier today with a singer from Canada, and she was talking about the importance of having routines. I like to ask people about if they have any sort of tips and tricks for anyone listening or watching. And she her tip was the importance of having a routine. Which was super interesting to hear, because she said, but like she already had the end goal in mind. So say you get up in the morning before a gig, like you sort of reverse engineer the whole day. So, okay, if I'm going to sing tonight, I'm going to make sure that I eat and I drink accordingly and all that stuff. And that was really cool, because I've never heard anyone sort of talk about that before. So it's interesting to hear you sort of say the same thing, that you have these sort of split goals that you need to accomplish for a week. So if you don't do anything today, you're going to catch up with it tomorrow. But it's okay, I didn't accomplish it today because I did this other thing. And now I'm sitting here, I'm taking hours out of your evening as well. But
how dare you?
Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry about that. But look, it's incredibly fascinating to sort of pick your brain on all these different topics.
Pleasure.
And again, honestly, we've been talking for nearly 2 hours now, man. I think we need to probably do a part 2 at some stage, because I've got so much stuff that I would love to talk about. We haven't even touched on your music. Like, we've been talking about your old music, but you've done so many originals and so many interesting cover songs over in all the time that I've known you. Which would be wicked to have a chat about as well. If you're up to have another chat, maybe in a couple of weeks or something.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Anytime.
Yeah. Let's try. If anybody out there is watching and they want to ask Keshet a couple of questions, let's do an FAQ in about 5 to 10 minutes. Then I'll just ask him a little bit more a little bit more questions here, because talking about your musical. So obviously after Demence, I saw you were doing, was it Jesus Christ Superstar? That was the next one you did?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Because that's obviously quite different, because you were on stage in that one, like you were the guitarist in the band. So you weren't, or how involved were you in the whole production there?
Well, officially, I guess I was just the guitarist and the videographer. So I was helping with marketing.
Right. Okay.
But unofficially, I really got to give props to Platinum Entertainment, the production company, because basically they saw the demands and they recognized my potential, and they really, really took me under their wing. Like, oh my gosh, like the best mentorship of my life. Like anything from budget meetings to marketing meetings to choir direction meetings to access to all the dance rehearsals to anything. And me being me and being like the meticulous person I am, I just said, I'm going to come 100% with everything. Doesn't matter if it's the sixth dance rehearsal on the same dance. I'm going to be in all of them. I'm not a dancer. I've got nothing to do with that. I just want to see all the layers now on that level of profession, because they're working on a much higher level than I ever did. So seeing a cast of 100 people, that's just the cast. I'm not talking even about the supporting people, 100 people on stage. And how do you manage them? And all the problems that you might have, and, emails that come in, and conflicting schedules, and people getting sick. When you have so many people, it's common, it would happen. Understudies, all the stuff. It was extreme. It was the best education of my life. Like, I've had mentorships with the producers that adopted us when we were young with the first band, and when I started working in studios, and I learned the ropes from other sound engineers and producers. But I can hands down say that 3-4 months doing Jesus Christ with them was the best mentorship, because they were just so welcoming in answering any question I had, and I had a lot. I'm so fortunate. I don't even know to this day why they were so open, because I understand why they would want to work with me, maybe, because maybe they say, oh, cool, you can contribute. He's a good guitar player. You can help us with videos. Yeah, fair enough. Amazing. Great. I'm thankful. But the fact that, unprovoked, they said, come, we're going to take you, come, we have a marketing meeting today, and just start showing me everything. And it's amazing, because they now gave me the tools. The next show I'm going to produce, it's going to be next level, regardless of money and all that. It's just the level of knowledge that now I contain and understanding on how to manage rehearsals, the stuff that I can expect and demand out of people, the stuff that is ridiculous, So everyone wins because of that, because I won't be too demanding, but on the other end, I can make sure that everyone are way more professional. So even in the auditions, I can see the way that I'm holding the auditions for the demands the first time was almost a piss take. I didn't even know what I was looking for. And again, just fortunate that I can't even say I was fortunate. No, because we did end up with wrong people, and we had to replace them halfway through, some of them, So that was because I didn't understand what I'm even looking for. I had no point of reference. And now, yes, I do have a point of reference because of the demands, but that's still not a really high bar. But going to that Jesus Christ Superstar, and because they let me be even on the judging panel of the auditions. That was actually the first thing they invited me for before they even gave me the gig of the guitar. And it was amazing, because now in the auditions for this show, I had a plan. It was everything. It's like, okay, every character has a test. This test checks the highest note. This checks the emotional range. And when people come here to do the audition, it's okay. Maybe they might feel when they come in, oh, hang on, this is in some dude's house, because I'm using my home studio for this. So that's not that professional yet, because I'm not at the liberty to just do it in a massive studio like Platinum can do. But then though, when we get into the process, they see it is super professional. They've got notes, they've got lyrics, everything is ready, and it's immediate. Like, there's no, what should we do? It's like, there's a plan, and the plan is super effective. So even, just on that level, it's already allowing me to distill way more talent, and I can immediately understand the issues I might have with that person, or why that person wins extra points, because, maybe the range wasn't there, but because of the other test, now I can know that I can get something else from them, which before I just wouldn't know, because I didn't know how to check that. So that's just on audition level. And of course, going forward with the new show, I expect every level would be 10 times better because of the training I had with Platinum.
But I can't, like, you're probably selling yourself short a little bit if you're saying like, oh, but why would they take you onto that level? I think like if you were in their shoes and they've seen your production and they understand the scope of work that you were involved in, like, you were doing everything. You were like, as you said earlier, like you went home after a 12-hour day and you went through the video recordings of the auditions to give feedback to the actors. Like that is literally you doing everything from the musical to the orchestra to the dancing. Like you were even looking at makeup and stuff. Like you had and your props and you were doing it all. So you were doing stuff that I'm guessing here the Platinum probably had individual managers to run. So of course they would want you on there because you have done it. I understand you've only done one. But if they want you as an ongoing member, of course, you would need to become a part of the core moving forward. It would put them in a better position as well.
Well, I hope so. Look, as long as they'll have me, I'm there. And we've done quite a few productions since Jesus Christ, and it's been fantastic, man. They just keep getting bigger and bigger. So I'm really, the shutdown was really bad for them and everyone in the industry. So I'm really hoping that now, as restrictions will lift, we can go back and just go bigger and better, man. It'd be insane.
Yeah. It's it is crazy again. It's again something I've been speaking with pretty much everybody that I've had on. Is it's just the unfathomable scope of this coronavirus. It's not just Perth. It's not just Denmark or UK or wherever else people are from. It's everywhere. And again, and the fact that the music industry is most likely going to be one of the last ones to open up at full capacity because of the density of the audience.
Absolutely.
So there'll hopefully be a lot more live streaming and stuff because that is again completely social distancing safe, and we can sit here and have a good, long, interesting conversation, man. Yeah, but yeah, it's just crazy, man. It's ridiculous. What are you looking forward to the most when all this is done? Well, what are you going to go out and do?
I'm actually looking forward to going back to work. I guess I'm a workaholic, but yeah, I would love, to be involved in another big show. It doesn't have to be mine, the new one. It would probably be with Platinum, and it would just be great to be back in the business, and just in general, I guess go out to pubs, just be able to go back to old life, man. We need a drink.
Yeah. You're not planning on going back to Tel Aviv anytime soon, but by the time the borders are open again. So.
Yeah. Not anytime soon. Not for now. Yeah.
Have you been back at all since you got here?
Yeah, but not for a long while. Last time I was there was about 6 years ago.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I do hope, though, I might have a reason to go back because I do hope to bring this new show, The Holocaust, to Israel one day because. I think it would be so interesting for them.
That'd be deep.
The one thing I don't know though is how would they accept a theater show in English? That's even, I guess, worse than music. You know what I mean? So, and translating it, well, if someone can do it, good. But I don't think I want that bag, man. That's too much work.
Yeah. That I could. Well, you might be able to get your old friend, the other guy that was helping you with the events. You might get him to.
Yeah. Oh, true. Yeah.
To give him a bit of a translator job.
Absolutely.
Let me just jump over and see if we have anyone watching. We've got quite a bit here. You can probably see it yourself there as well.
Yeah, I can see the feed.
Yeah, there's obviously a couple of people that are commenting on your story. I get that. That is a pretty damn scary childhood, man. You wouldn't want to wish that on anyone. But man, yeah. Look, it's been super interesting, man, to sort of pick your brain. And we really need to come back and have another chat about your music, not your musical or your opera, but the actual songs that you've done as well. Because I remember when I first met you, you had this. I think you gave me a CD of some instrumental songs that you were going through at some stage.
True. And that, oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, and that has obviously developed quite a bit from there. Like you're now doing full on, like again the Dangerous Roads that you opened with, and again we're gonna finish off on another project song of yours, another collab. Can you maybe give us a little bit of a background story on that song?
The next one we're gonna see is it whatever. Whoever
gets me wins. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. That song, I wrote it one day while I was doing the dishes, and
Very rock and roll.
rock and roll life. Woo! And I met this amazing singer called Carly Spencer. She sings, I think, for a cover band in Perth called Millhouse. I think I met her through Dements auditions or something like that. But anyway, we never got to really work. She wasn't part of the Dements. But then I pitched a song for her because it was really good for her voice. I think like it was a good fit. And thankfully she jumped on board. Then to produce the song, I teamed up with this Psytrance producer in Israel, who used to be my guitar student actually. But now he's in a label and and has a career in Psytrance, and it's crazy because I wanted like this to bring this pop flavor, which usually uses electronic instruments, but I wanted it to be a bit different in terms of the sound choices. So I contacted him, and together like we went back and forth, and he did an amazing job. So really, all the instruments you hear is like him interpreting my original rhythms. I think actually, the drums I might have done myself, and then we added a couple more layers on top of that. And the guitars, obviously, I've done myself. Everything else is Sephi with synths.
Yep.
And then for the clip, we were like, whenever we produce one of those clips, and actually this is why I probably haven't released more songs, because I actually got quite a few done with new collaborators, but it's more about every time I really hope to find a concept for the clip, because I'd like to think of myself also as a visual artist, right? Because I work in the video industry, and I don't want to just do a performance clip. Like that one we saw,
Dangerous Road.
So yeah, is a performance clip, but it does have a twist because the original capture on my Facebook, it's a 360-degree capture, so you can actually choose which performer you're looking on. And it is a single take, like the whole song is one take. What you see is what you hear. And I wanted to capture that old school energy of 10 people in the studio getting a take. So awesome. That's why I was happy with that performance clip, because normally I just think it's a bit boring to just see people play. But that, I think, gives it a bit of a twist. So with Whoever Gets Me, the idea was, what if we, because the tagline is Whoever Gets Me win. So I thought, okay, a different way to think about this is, what if there's a game and, like a slot machine or something like that, where you have different body parts of people, and then once in a while you get the set of the person, so you get the person you win, like in a jackpot, right? So that was that's how I started developing the concept, and then I teamed up with this amazing production designer called Jordi, who actually plays the Egyptian woman in the clip.
Right.
And we were talking about, we said, let's break it down. So if we'll have sets of people, how many different looks would we need, And we were like, we need about 5. Plus you'll have, me as one of the sets, because all the rest are ladies. So that's funny. You get my legs with, and also we said, that's right. I can't believe I forgot. Sorry, the bass, we have live bass on that track by the amazing Mark Pereira. So he came for the clip as well.
Cool.
So Carly is more about performing and recording, not about, video shoots. So she abstained from the clip. But then, so we said, okay, that's an opportunity. Let's have then the models that are going to be the different sets lip sync, and you'll have different one every time, so it'll be really cool. And then we said, so what would be the concept for the different sets? What, just different people? That's not interesting enough. So we said, let's make it into an era base. So one from the 20s, one from the 50s, one from the 90s, one ancient Egypt, and then let's do research. And I guess that was more on me, of the colors that would really associate us mentally, something from that. So, in the 70s, there was a different vibe for the picture and the way that it was developed, and as opposed to the 60s and so on. So the color grades there are deliberately completely different. And I remember when my brother saw it, he said it, almost as a diss, because he didn't understand that's the concept. He said, man, it looks like every other one. It's like a different Instagram filter. Like it's not cohesive. And I was like, yes, right. That's the idea. I worked really hard because this was all shot with the same look, same light, everything. And whatever makes you feel like it's different, that's all my work in post-production. That's exactly what I was going for. I want you to feel like this part is from the 60s, so it's grainy, and this part is from the future. Awesome. So it's like, so that's what we're going to see. Yeah.
Fantastic. But when I saw it the first time, because it's really cool to get your story, because obviously you have created it. But I remember when I saw it the first time, and I heard it, whoever gets me wins. I thought it was actually about almost like dating. You know, like whoever.
It is.
And I was looking at the video as you're sliding left and right. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, there's that layer as well. I definitely thought about that as well with the video. But the songwriting, for sure, I was like, you know, I think I was talking to someone and she wasn't interested or whatever, and then. When I was doing the dishes, I was thinking about, well, you know what, whoever gets me wins. So she didn't win this time, you know. So and then just start writing that song. So it's definitely about the dating, like both lyrically, and I definitely feel like this. When I was thinking how to move, because originally Slot Machine moves like this, right? So
yeah.
So I thought maybe that's going to be the movement, but then when I was in editing, I was like, nah, the swiping. So yeah, I forgot about that layer, but it is there. You're right.
But it's also really cool how you shot it in the
vertical mode.
The vertical mode. So it's everybody should probably go back and watch it on the mobile phones. It would make a lot more sense.
Absolutely.
It would be a perfect fit there.
Exactly. It's designed for that experience.
Yeah. Just on a final note, if people that will be listening to this should go and find you somewhere, where is the best place to catch up? Should they go to your website or Instagram, Facebook? Where's the best way to sort of keep in touch?
Facebook is king. That's where I'm most active. So I've got a page. I mean, it's under Keshet, but I guess if there's more options, search Keshet Guitar, and you'll find it. Yeah, I'm a bit active on Instagram, not that much actually, and I used to be active on YouTube, but I feel like it's not the game anymore. Hey, like it's shifted.
Well, again, you still produce so many videos. Like you should just put them up there, and it could become a bit of a. But
I don't have the following anymore, though. I used to have thousands all the time regularly, but now it died down. But Facebook is going really strong, so yeah. I'm definitely there.
Yeah, and otherwise, I suppose like you have a website that sort of connects all the social platforms as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Keshetworks.com, and yeah, it's everything. It covers videos and music and teaching and everything that I do. Because Keshet works. That's all I do, man. I just work all day.
That's it, man. Well, we'll be look. I can't wait to have a chat to you again about your music, and we also haven't really touched on your video skills as well, like your actual so some of the shots that you've done and productions that you've done, because they look top notch.
Oh, thank you.
But Keshet, man, thank you so much for. I hope I haven't taken out too much of your opera time tonight. Hopefully, you can still get a bit done. But otherwise, you could be doing 2 songs tomorrow, so you're okay.
Yeah, that's what I'll be doing. Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
I had a pleasure, man. A pleasure, really.
Yeah, fantastic. Look, let's do it again soon, buddy.
Yeah, we will.
Excellent. I will put on whoever gets me wins now, and. Everybody who's out there, just give it a lot of love. Give it some likes, and go and follow Keshet and give him some love too. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks, Keshet. Here is whoever gets me wins. Thanks so much for tuning in or listening along to the show. If you like the show, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review and subscribe to my social channels. It doesn't cost you anything, but it greatly helps me to build my networks and my chances of getting sponsors to keep this show running. If you want to take it to the next level, please head over to patreon.com/Stephen Helhammer and become a patron by joining the exclusive community there. You can start from as little as $3 per month. And for just a little extra, you get access to some fantastic features, outtakes, behind the scenes stuff, and much, much more. That's less than the cost of a cup of coffee per month. And that way you can help me build better content. I can devote more time to find awesome guests and just generally just keep everything flowing. If you want to be on the show or subscribe to my mailing list, send an email to steven@helhammer.com, and that is HELhammer.com. That way I can start sending you exclusive invites, random stuff, and messages that, who knows, you might enjoy. So that's it. Have a rocking day ahead, guys, and I will see you on the live stream or in your headphones very soon. Take it easy.